Madhava Kunja Vihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Stotra His Divine Grace Abhay Charanarvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anant Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Gangamai Jamunamai Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Kaliyug Pavan Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Hare Krishna Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurun Militamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamshta Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisheshunyamadi Paschatya Dechatarane Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhyo Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna. I never been given a seminar on parenting. We only just talk informally with devotees. In the Krishna book, in the introduction to Krishna book, Prabhupada offers, Krishna book as dedicating that to his father. And he explains that he was the one who gave me culture and Krishna consciousness, who prayed to Srimati Radharani that he becomes a very good devotee of Krishna. And in the Bhagavatam purport also he mentions about how his biological father was instrumental in giving that culture so that he eventually could meet his eternal spiritual father. So makes the distinction between father, the biological father and the spiritual father. A spiritual father in one sense cannot replace the biological father. And there is a role of the biological father and mother to play an important impact in the life of the child. And therefore we study in the Bhagavatam sometimes or many times after the conclusion of every chapter, some kind of benediction is given. The benediction is that if you study this chapter, your kula will be strong, your kula will grow. One may wonder why Shukadeva Goswami is giving this mundane benediction. Apparently looks like a mundane benediction. But it is not exactly mundane benediction, rather it is a benediction which gives a satisfaction. Oh, we have a good family who will continue the legacy of Krishna consciousness. That is the satisfaction of the parents. So therefore, even though we read lot and sometimes devotees may preach heavily, what is this becoming a father, mother? After all, it's a mundane thing, it's a temporary thing. Yeah, being a father or mother may be temporary, but fatherhood and motherhood is not temporary. It's a legacy, it will continue. As long as the material world will survive, that long one will have fathers. As long as material world is there, that long the mothers will be there. So therefore, to sustain the legacy of fatherhood, sustain the legacy of motherhood, there has to be an effort, an endeavor to make to be a successful father and mother. Otherwise, if there are no good parents, how can good children come about? Not possible only. And that is the contention of Arjuna in the very first chapter. The entire logic what Arjuna presents in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, why he did not want to fight, is all about family only. And what kind of family will be created? He said Varana Sankarta will come out. And if the Varana Sankarta comes out, then there is no responsibility from the children's point of view. And if there is no responsibility, then all the ancestors will go to hellish planet. And because they will go to hellish planet, the whole system will be distorted. The whole sanskara, the whole sanskriti, whole samaj will go to dogs. So Arjuna's fear, his logic is very profound. Because that was his sanskara, to see the future. So therefore, Prabhupada writes in the very first chapter, it is not overpopulation. He said, population is not the problem, but what kind of population? That is the problem. If the population is good, it doesn't matter what number you have. If the population is bad, then one child also can create a havoc. Duryodhan, only one son. 99 were immaterial basically, Other than Dushasan, everybody else was immaterial. But that one son had the power to create a destruction of massive army. So therefore, we cannot put less emphasis on parenting. Because if you see, the entire culture of Krishna consciousness is depending on this concept of family only. A family or grahasthas are the parents of all other three ashramas: Brahmacharya ashram, Vanaprastha ashram and Sannyasi ashram. The survival of these three ashrams, we may say, the sannyasis and the brahmacharis may say, Hare Krishna hamara dekhbhal karta hai. Parantu kaise dekhbhal karta hai? How does he take care of them? Through the grahasthas only. Prabhupada writes in the light of the Bhagavatam about this. Krishna does provide to them, but through the medium. And what is that medium? The medium of grahasthas only. So therefore, and as Kali Yuga progresses, one is being irresponsible because a Kali Yuga product. Another being irresponsible because having application of wrong philosophy, or the right philosophy but wrong application. I was sharing this in the Bhagavatam 6th canto, Chitraketu Maharaj's wife. If you study her logic, very brilliant logic she presents after the death of her son. She talks about attachment. She talks about philosophy. If actually utilize this philosophy of, who is father, who is mother, any attachment will only cause entanglement. So why in the first place even love our children? So what will that do? That will create a kind of a huge gap between the parents and the children. And many times this happens. One can escape one's responsibility in the name of philosophy. अरे बहुत हो गया बच्चों का, बहुत हो गया, and I just want to be Krishna conscious. No, this is an obstacle. This is a trouble. Like somebody was asking this question just now before I came here. How do I manage my sadhana and take care of my child? How do I do my sadhana very nicely? How do I do my sadhana very nicely in the morning? I say that you will not do only. Because it is not possible. If you have a child and if you have children and they are very young, and your sadhana is important philosophically, but practically what happens when you are chanting intensely and you hear the sound of the child? Prabhupada says one should cry like a child. And actually the child is crying. And you say, wow, Prabhupada has told me we should cry like the child. Let the child cry, I am also going to call for Krishna. So no, what happens? As a natural response, you drop your beads and you go run to your child. Now is it right or wrong? A philosopher में से देखो कितना आसक्ति है इधर. माँ अपने कृष्ण को छोड़कर अपने बच्चे के पास भाग रही है. शी इज रनिंग आफ्टर हर बेबी. बट दैट इज द रियलिटी ऑफ लाइफ. इफ अ मदर रन्स टू द चाइल्ड थिंकिंग द चाइल्ड इज एन ऑब्स्टैकल टू माई स्पिरिचुअल प्रैक्टिस, दोज वाइब्रेशन गो इन टू चाइल्ड सिस्टम. ही स्टार्ट्स बिलीविंग दैट आई एम एन ऑब्स्टैकल टू माई मदर. So she doesn't love me, rather she thinks I am a burden. And he actually becomes a burden, because that is our belief system. There are affirmations in world. These mantras, we may not chant them as mantras, but we chant these emotions, vibrations. अरे burden है, burden है, burden है. तो जितना बड़ा होता जाता है उतना burden बनता जाता है. आपके जपा में हमेशा के लिए disturbance create करता रहेगा. अभी वो रो रहा है, फिर आगे जाके किधर पार्टी में बैठा रहेगा या बैठी रहेगी. Why? Because that's how we have raised them, thinking that to be a burden. Therefore Prabhupada explained that when you have a baby or a child, that is your deity worship. So what we have to do, that anusanka, that sandhan has to be done. Sandhan means some other connecting that to Krishna. This is also my Krishna consciousness only. This is also my service to Krishna only. If I can raise a child doing my duty, usually what happens, we focus more on what the child should be doing, rather than focusing what I should be doing. What is under my control is what I can do. What is not under my control is what they can do. But we worry so much about what they should be doing rather than worrying about what I should be doing. And we say, अरे मेरा इंद्रिय मेरे नियंत्रण में नहीं है. अगर आपका नहीं तो उसका कैसा आपके पास रह सकता है? तो क्यों उसके लिए चिंता करते हो? जो आपके नियंत्रण में नहीं है उसकी चिंता करके क्या लाभ है? You think about those things which are under your control, apparently at least. And I see many times a philosophical parents do send his vibrations regularly. अरे एक ही इतना बोझा है तो दूसरा क्यों? हो गया ना, इसको एक पहले कोई बोझा बना दे. ये बोझा इतना कौन हैंडल करेगा, कौन संभालेगा? अगर पहले मालूम होता तो हम लोग करते ही नहीं थे ये भी. Then again you put more blame on the baby, more blame on the child. I remember one devotee, after he got a baby, he came to his spiritual master, Radhanand Maharaj. He came and he told Maharaj, 25 years of entanglement. 25 years. So Maharaj said, why not 26 years? How do you think that your relationship is over with 25 years only? And why do you think it's an entanglement? It's Krishna's gift for you. To have children itself is a big difficulty now for many people. So when Krishna has given you something, rather than thinking as a gift of Krishna, if you are thinking as a burden, he said, but what guarantee is there whether he will become a devotee or not? There is nobody's guarantee. Even your guarantee is not there whether you will remain a devotee or not. So what you have to do is that you give as much as culture you can give, as long as that child takes. Whether he becomes a devotee or not, it is not between you and him. It is between him and Krishna. You only have to do your responsibility. Otherwise, what happens is, what our scripture talks about, divinity is there everywhere. Divinity or divyatva jo hai, it is not focused to certain thing. Then it is not divya. Doubting everything in Krishna's service. Krishna is not limited only in the temple. Yeah, he gives this inspiration in the temple. But I can't stay all the time in the temple. Even as a brahmachari, we don't stay in the temple 24 hours. Sometimes we run away from there also, just like I came here. Because too much of management is there. Too much of things to do. So every brahmachari, almost all the brahmacharis, what we do, 5 days we stay in the temple, 2 days we travel. Like Narad Muni, not having any responsibility. So what to speak of being 24 hours in the temple? Not possible. So therefore, what does Krishna teach? Krishna teaches, can you dovetail everything in Krishna's service? Can you make everything divine? Is it possible? So according to his philosophy, yes, you can make everything divine. Therefore, Grahastha ashram is not the outside the purview of ashram life. There is a brahmacharya life, there is vanaprastha life, there is sannyas life, and there is also Grahastha life. We cannot ostracize Grahastha life. We can't say this is non-devotional life, this is non-Krishna conscious life, this is non-spiritual life. Because that is not in the scripture. It is also part of the entire varnashram process. And it has the same potency to be God conscious as much as any other ashram. Because every ashram has its advantages and every ashram has its disadvantages. No ashram is made in the spiritual world. Every ashram is made in the material world only. Everybody is made in the material world only. So therefore everybody has certain advantages and certain disadvantages. So if Krishna has put somebody in that situation and we realize, okay, this is what my situation is, a good situation for me, how do I use this situation for my advantages in Krishna consciousness? So unless this understanding is there, this is not a burden. So never consider your family member, especially your children, as a burden for your progress in devotional life. They are not. If you consider them to be burden, rest assured, they will become burden because that's what you want. That's what you are praying from Krishna. Let them become burden. You may not say like that, but you are already saying, अरे ये burden है, 25 साल का burden है. 25 साल नहीं हो, जिंदगी भर burden रहेगा आपका, क्योंकि आपने ऐसा सोचा है. So it is not right thing to, contemplate upon. It's a gift. It's a gift of Krishna. And because he's a gift of, or she is a gift of Krishna, then next stage is, how do I make that gift more worthy so that I can offer my service to Krishna. And whoever does it, I was telling, like many of our devotee girls, they came to our temple when they were students. So when you are a student, you can bunk college and come to the temple. Nobody comes to know. The parents don't come to know. So many such girls would do. They were medical student, engineering student, very sincere devotees. And they would come, attend the program. And then they got married. Once they got married, they could not bunk. No? Because the principal is there in the... your husband is the principal. Or the husband, the guys got married, so they had lady principal in the home. So then what happened? Then you cannot just run away. There is no more that pleasure of boyhood or a girlhood. I just drop everything and run to the temple and, gleefully dance in the kirtan. That was the stage. It's a good stage. And you got it. But there is a next stage to it. There is a next stage of life. When the next stage of life came, so slowly, their coming to the temple, there was a change. Now they were coming every week or every day. It was reduced to a week. And I was sharing a story. One Mataji, she was the one who started cooking in our temple for the deities. Before that, only we would manage. She got married, and next day only the husband brought her, Prabhuji, I need to engage her in devotional service. She has to cook for the deities. So then she started cooking every day. Every day she would cook from from Sunday to Saturday. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. No, except Monday, all other days she would cook. And then she had a baby. A boy was born. Then what happened? Her cooking stopped. So, that adjustment of doing cooking for the deities almost every day and now not doing cooking for the deities every day was a big thing. Sometimes people, they have difficulty in realizing, it's such a big gap. And where does the anger, frustration, disappointment goes? Goes to that baby. It is all unconscious. It happens. ये क्यों आ गया अभी? और 2 साल वेट करता था तो और 2 साल मुझे कुकिंग करने मिलता था. And then she came to her guru and he said, do not ever think like that. Put all your focus on your son. Let him grow in Krishna consciousness. Now there is a change of service. Service is there, but service has changed. Service has not gone. Usually what we think, service means only this is service and this is not service. He said service is not gone, service is there. Only the service has changed. And for next 10, 12 years, now this boy, fortunately I got to see, since his father getting married, and then this lady coming in his life, Mataji cooking in the temple, the son was getting born. Now this boy is ready for both the Diksha. Now Mataji is coming in the temple. She was doing whatever service she could do, but coming every day to the temple and doing everything was not possible because she trained her son. He's connected to deities only. He takes care of all our deity designing, dresses designing, all the festival he does, all the decoration part. And he goes to many devotees' homes to dress the deities, very good at dressing. And plus he topped in one course, in India. He is the youngest one to pass this course. And now he is doing his CA also. So because the mother invested, the legacy continued. Now she feels grateful. Wow, all my energy, I did my duty and Krishna is reciprocated also. And there's not one story, there are many like that. All these young girls who came running, temple, jumping, dancing, yatras, as if they thought they were sannyasis only almost. They had to take sannyas from their temple services. They got married, they had children. But because their next service was appreciated by the community, and they got convinced, okay, now I got a next service of raising my children, giving them Krishna consciousness. And what happened? There are more such kids. There's another lady, I saw her also come to temple as a student. Now she has got 3 children. And now the girl is also in the list of initiation. So therefore, when we understand that everybody has something to contribute in Krishna's service, some services are very openly glorified. They are stage services, like I am sitting here, right? So you are made into a nautanki. अरे स्टेज में जाके परफॉर्मेंस करो तो आप लोग हीरो बन जाते हो. But that is nonsense, because we do not worship heroes. we worship substance. Wherever we find that substance, we bow down. Oh, here is the substance. Like Prabhupada talks about that old lady bringing water from Jamuna. What was her service? Very simple. Right. But some other it is there in the Lilamrit. Some contribution is there. And again, if somebody has been put in that situation, no, one should not artificially try. Like one devotee said, that fish should always remain in the water because that is the place where it survives. Just because milk is better than the water, you place the fish in the milk, it will not be nourished, it will die, it will suffocate and die in the milk. It will not survive. Even though milk is superior to water, but fish is meant to be in the water only. Similarly, every devotee, every person has certain position. And if he does not stay, or if she does not stay in that position, if you artificially try to take another position, what happens? That creates suffocation. I remember one devotee, same, like he was not able to manage his son. And because he was not able to manage his son, she was putting all that blame on the wife. And he got fed up. And he thought, this is Krishna's mercy now. I should take to the path of Vanaprastha. So then his wife told him, he said, Vanaprastha is such a nice ashram, don't spoil it by you going there. आपके जैसे लोग जाएंगे तो खराब हो जाएगा. Don't spoil it. I said, wow, very good. He said, such a nice understanding. That's such a nice ashram that people like you going there, that will be destroyed. So better you stay here only. Why? Because that's a beautiful place and you are a fish and you are trying to get into milk. That will suffocate. So we see in Krishna consciousness when there is an organic growth, having a gratitude. Again, that Krishna, you have placed me. Sometime I ask this question to our school. We have both girls and boys. I asked the girls, I asked the boys, so do you regret being boys? Yeah, come on. He said, why are you asking that question? He said, we don't regret being boys. Then I asked the girls, do you regret being girls? And then they don't want to say. But they are very honest. Yeah, sometimes we regret. I said, why you regret? You think whatever position Krishna has given you, is it not a right position? Can you not offer something to Krishna even in this condition? To think that I should have become boys itself is a waste of your energy because you will not become in this lifetime. No? You are girls only. And to think that their position is better than your position is to questioning Krishna's position. No, Krishna made a mistake. No, he cannot make a mistake. And therefore in the Mahabharata, there is a brilliant analysis of father and mother. There is a similar story like Parshuram. There is one Rishi, he told his son's name was Chirakari. And he found something wrong in his mother. And he told his son Chirakari. He said, kill your mother. Now Parshuram's father was great, Parshuram was great. So Parshuram, it was a strategy by Parshuram. You have to understand, Parshuram killed his mother not because he just followed his father's order. He knew that my father is so great, I will kill her and then I'll revive her. So marna a केवल temporary phase था. So it was a strategy. It was not emotional one. So when Gautam Rishi, his name was Gautam Rishi, he told his son, you kill your mother, and he walked to the forest to take bath. And the son started contemplating. And he analyzes the position of mother and he analyzes the position of father. A very interesting analysis. He says, father has the psychology of owning his children, his offspring. मैं स्वामी हूँ, मैं इसका स्वामी हूँ. I am the controller because it has come from me. That is required. And because he thinks that he is a Swami, then the father takes the role of disciplining the child, which is important. This is what Gautam Chirakari is thinking. And he says, mother doesn't have the controlling mentality. She has a loving mentality. वो ओनरशिप में नहीं जाती है, वो मातृत्व की भावना को जागृत करती है. ये मेरा पुत्र, मैं इसकी सेवा करनी चाहिए. बाप सोचता है कि ये मेरा सेवा करना चाहिए, ये मेरा सुनना चाहिए. That is more with the father because there is an ego involved, which is required. That is also healthy, but that is not sufficient. So mother's mood also has to be there. So ultimately decides, I have no right to kill my mother. I cannot do that. He analyzed very nicely. He said, I need my mother also to experience affection and love. And then the Rishi comes running, hey Chirakari, I hope you are acted according to your name. I hope you are acted according to your name. Chirakari यानी कि जो काम धीरे से सोच के मंद गति से करेगा. He would not take decision quickly. So when he comes and sees that his wife is still living, he congratulates his son. Good that you did not kill your mother. No, it was my fault, my mistake. So we see, therefore our scriptures talk about the parents represents what? Lakshmi and Narayan. Pita or Mata, both they represent the Lakshmi and Narayan. They are supposed to represent the mercy of Lakshmi and they are supposed to represent the discipline of Lord Narayan. When there is mercy and discipline, then the child has a wholesome growth. And how does Lord Narayan deal with? And how does Lakshmi deal with? They only raise their children and they give the choice to the children to serve Lakshmi Narayan or not. If they don't serve, there is a problem for them. But they cannot force. They can only give training. So since parents represent Lakshmi Narayan, the discipline has to be given, the mercy has to be given. Whether that child grows to be a nice child or not, he will become or she will become. That's how the parampara continues. But there is no compulsion. That is the responsibility of the child. That is how Lakshmi Narayan do. Therefore, the Vedic parenting is affectionate detachment. No, it is not obsessive attachment. Obsessive attachment is violent. Because when we start creating a picture of our child the way we want them to mold. So that means our false ego is involved. When our false ego is involved, we don't realize there is also another false ego of the child. When two false egos clash, what does it do? It creates war. The child's false ego is involved and the parent's false ego is involved. The parent's false ego says, my child has to be like this. No, you cannot make your child the way you want. He is not a machine. He has his own mind also. You can only give what you are supposed to give. What he becomes, what she becomes, it is not your responsibility. If he becomes good, you be grateful to Krishna. If it doesn't become good, understand again whether your understanding is right or wrong. No, because we define what is good and bad. No, he may have his own, she may have his own, her understanding what is good and bad. So therefore, when two false egos should not be allowed to clash, because when two false egos clash, it creates war. It creates disturbance. Therefore, if you study in the Vedic way of becoming a parent, there is a detached affection is there. That is the rule, detached affection. And the detached affection actually gives the scope. Therefore, what the kids would do, when they would receive all affection from their parents up until the age of 5, that was the time they would go to Gurukul. So there is so much of huge investment from the mother and father side. Only the good side they have experienced and they go to Gurukul. So what happens to the child? Child is only carrying all the good memories. My mother was so nice, my father was so nice. And then he goes through a teacher who has no relationship in one sense. There is only a discipline. There is a lot of discipline, less of that familial affection. So when the child comes back, he is trained so nicely, and then he had the impression of all the good upbringing, so therefore it becomes easier for the child to again come back to the original experiences. With the growth, with wisdom, there is a natural good reciprocation with the parents. Nowadays it isn't there. So therefore expecting the child to continue to maintain the same affection, growing in the same place, in the same house, with only one mother, and you can only have only mother, just seeing the same personality, your mother, and she is telling the same thing what she told when she was when the child was 1 year old, repeating the tape again and again. So the children say, come on, they may not say like this, some children say anyway, most of them they say nowadays. So they say, you are repeating the same time what you repeated 1 year old. If you see the video, I can show you. There is the same repetition. So there is innovativeness. So the child starts losing respect. And when it begins when the child becomes, nowadays, I think on Australia it could be 10-year-old, but in India it's like, third, fourth standard only they start raising questions. Why like this? Why should I do like that? And again, what happens? Our ego comes into picture. Then whatever they had experienced, the good side, we only erase it, so that the child never to remember all those good experiences. Therefore, it's a responsibility of the parents to see that whatever you all gave till the age of 5 or 6, when the child was completely innocent, directly Prahlad Maharaj only, or some other divine lady, right? It's a blind love, which is good for the child. And that has to be retained. The child has to retain all those feelings. But if that emotions are removed by bombarding the child as he is growing or she is growing, then the children do not find any meaning to, feel respecting the parents. A very bad strategy. Because children have to have a great affection for the parents. That is their strength. I love my father. I love my mother. To say that, it's the greatest reward they can offer the parent. I remember one boy, he had on his cell phone, he received a phone call. And I was myself, another devotee where happened to be there. So caller's ID said hell. Hey, what is this? I said, घर का phone है. ये घर है हमारा नरक. I said, come on, ये devotee family है, तेरे माता पिता devotee है, आपके लिए devotee है, मेरे लिए hell है वो. Now he's initiated devotee, very nice guy. बहुत अच्छा है, शादी भी हो गया उसका. Then now, hopefully, his son will not say, or daughter will not say like that. But I remember, either caller's ID had said hell hai. Now he grew up, being a devotee. So at some stage he saw, mother and father doing not parenting but CID. They became monitoring. किधर जा रहा है? क्या कर रहा है? ये किया, वो किया. मतलब प्रभु जी ये नरक है नरक. And he actually put. Can you imagine what he must be going through to put his home's ID, caller's ID as hell? Long back he took it away. Maybe he has put Vaikunt karke abhi. But at least he had put those times. Caller's ID. Very sweet, very gentle. I know when he was in 4th standard, now he is married also. Very nice gentleman. Why? Because parents must have put through him some kind of... I am not only blaming parents. Since you are here, therefore I am saying. We also talk to children that how you should respect your parents. Ultimately, you are... Because see, one thing we have to understand, as much as we become angry, upset with them, and as much as they become angry and upset with us, upset with parents, that much they lose blessings of their superiors. And as much as they lose blessings of their superiors, that much they become unsuccessful in life. So their growth in life is based upon how much they respect their parents. That's a very clear. जब तक बच्चा अपने माता पिता का आशीर्वाद प्राप्त नहीं कर सकता तब तक उसकी प्रगति नहीं होती है। तो इसलिए माता पिता को कभी नेवर कर्स योर चिल्ड्रन। पता नहीं कौन सा शत्रु हमारे घर पे आ गया लोग बोलते हैं ना, many times they say, we don't know what kind of enemy has come to our home. Even if he has come, but don't say that, because you don't know whether he is enemy or not. We don't know about it. So it's very important that the child has to get the blessing for his progress. If he does not get the blessings of his progress or her progress, their material life, their intellectual life, their emotional life, and their spiritual life does not become very solid. Therefore, it is important that the parents behave in such a way that the child is grateful. And when the child is grateful, then the parents can bless. Beta, sukhi rahe. Parents bless. And there is a power in that. Therefore, we see in Prabhupada and Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur's life, even in Lord Chaitanya's life, Lord Chaitanya would not take sannyas. He was helpless, even though he was ready to take sannyas, but he would not take sannyas unless the blessing came from his mother. You can't do it only. Madhvacharya would not take sannyas unless his parents would bless him. So even for doing some higher service to Krishna, they knew that unless the parents' blessing come, you will not be successful in your venture. If Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, could have said, who cares for these blessings? Anyway, I am doing it for Krishna only. No, the culture doesn't agree only. No, the psychology doesn't agree only. You have to take blessing. So Mahaprabhu, he is setting an example that he would not take sannyas unless his mother would bless him. And she had to bless him. He created some mystical power. So Mahaprabhu's mother blessed him. She was crying tears. She was like a mummy, non-movable thing. But her hand raised and she blessed. And once he got the blessing, he went to take sannyas. But he would not do that. Very illustrative, very instructive also. Same thing Madhvacharya, he wanted to take sannyas long back. But he would not take. Because he said, you are the only son, how can we allow? Okay, you will get another son. That I will take responsibility. So Madhvacharya has the power to give another son to his parents, but he had no independent power to take sannyas without getting the blessings of his parents. Can you imagine? They are so powerful. They can give another child. They could have a brother. But they would not do unless the blessings came. So even for the higher cause of serving Krishna, if you don't have the blessings of your superiors, then you don't become successful. I remember one sannyasi told to one lady, he said, I can analyze your life. He said, you are a good daughter and therefore you could become a good wife. And because you are a good wife, therefore you could become a good mother. And hopefully you'll become a good mother-in-law also. I think that is the most difficult one. But at least if you can manage the 3-1, good daughter, good wife, good, mother, that is so much of success. And then from there, to be a good devotee, it's not difficult one because there is a culture is there. So therefore, it's so important to bless also. And how we can be blessed unless there is a natural. Therefore, Kunti, Gandhari, now she was attached to her son. When Duryodhan came to her, said, please bless me that I'll be victorious. He said, I can't bless you. मेरा हाथ ऊपर उठेगा ही नहीं. मैं कैसे आपको blessing दे सकती हूँ? I cannot give you blessing. Why? Because wherever there is dharma, there is victory. And wherever is Krishna, there is dharma. I can make your body steel framed. And that was the time she made his body steel frame. But she could not give a blessing of victory. And because he did not get the blessing of victory, what happened? He did not win. From that perspective, it is as simple as that. And on the other hand, Kunti, she did not meet the Pandavas But she told Krishna, my blessings are there with Yudhishthir. Tell him to fight. No, he has to fight this war to establish Dharmaraj. So Kunti's blessings came. Bhishma fought on behalf of Duryodhan. Dronacharya fought on behalf of Duryodhan. Kripacharya fought on behalf of Duryodhan. But they couldn't raise their hand and bless Duryodhan. Because if your blessings are not natural, they don't work only. It has to be very natural. And to make the blessings work naturally, you have to invoke those kind of feelings from your children. And to invoke those kind of feelings, it becomes parents' responsibility. Otherwise, we ourselves, like one Vaishnava was telling, one mother in one place, she had some trouble with her son, growing up son. So she gave a curse, in a village language. Mar ja tu. You die. And unfortunately that very night he was bit by a snake and he died. And this lady went through so much of pain. She said, I was the murderer of my son. And she could never forgive herself. कि मेरे मुंह से ऐसा शब्द ही क्यों निकला? कि मैंने ऐसा क्यों कहा? Why did I say like this? That मर जाओ. So somebody was saying, how can a refined mother use this word of die? मैं शाप देती तू मर जा. So, child may not die most of the time, but those vibrations are not very good. But in this case, this happened. So it was very painful for her. So therefore, here we see that a child ultimately has to receive blessings of the parents. And therefore, Prabhupada's greatness was, his father especially, and mother, because of father's force, he was always blessing them. Always blessed him. What is that? Become a great devotee of Radharani. Become a great devotee of Radharani. Whichever sadhus would come, you would tell them, okay, please bless my son that he becomes a great devotee of Radharani. So therefore, Prabhupada could see the contribution of his father in his mission, and he could see the contribution of his Guru Maharaj in his mission. Similarly, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was so great because his father invoked that kind of soul. He wanted someone who could spread Krishna consciousness, a prasad of Lord Jagannath. And he got it. And that's how he became. So therefore we can see, the parents are the one who create heroes. And the parents are the one who create heroes. No? So at least if the parents work on creating heroes, blessing them nicely, raising them nicely, giving them good culture, and part of that, all that is, as I said, affectionate detachment. I think I told one of our devotees' wife, she was my school teacher's wife. Some other, my school teacher became a devotee and he was attending my Bhagavad Gita course. And he was our karate teacher. We were all scared of him. I saw him sitting right in front of me many years back. I got a little nervous if he punches me. Then he became a devotee. Then his wife had a cancer. And she was dying. Then I went to visit her. She had played Radha Krishna Prana Mora, that song. And she told me to sing that song. She had become her favorite song. He said, what else is there in life now? And I have to make Radha Krishna as my life and soul. And then she told, her son and her daughter were sitting. She said, Prabhuji, no attachment. He said, I've given up all attachment to them. And I can say this with full confidence because I've done my responsibility. मैंने उनको बड़ा किया है, मैंने उनको संस्कार दिया है, सब कुछ किया हुआ है. अभी कुछ बचा ही नहीं. उनके साथ मेरा कोई संबंध नहीं है. मेरा उनके साथ संबंध नहीं, उनका मेरे साथ है. They can maintain, but I don't have because I'm moving out of it. So they were crying tears. No, the tears were gushing from their eyes with gratitude. If a young, just married woman with 2-year-old child said, Prabhuji, no attachment to my son. We should take her to psychiatric. Because that is the time she has to have attachment to her child. She has to show affection. Her responsibilities have not been fulfilled. So here she is saying, and the children were crying, they knew what my mother was talking, that she has gone through so much. Now she can say. And then, somebody would come to read Bhagavatam for her every day. And when she finished 10th canto, and maybe 2 days before, Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj had gone to meet her. And while devotees were chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. She left her body. Very, very auspicious departure. So we see, now she may not be a famous devotee, but her life is fulfilled. We have a choice to be famous or fulfill our life. If we fulfill our life and we create a legacy, we only become famous, but it is not fulfilling, it does not create legacy. What is the point? So here, the parenting is like Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavad Gita purport. He said, who are the natural leaders? He talks about teacher, parents, and the king. They are the natural leaders. And they are natural leaders because if you have only king and no parent, no teachers, a king cannot handle. Yes, Narendra Modi has become our Prime Minister. But to expect a miracle from him, अरे सब कुछ करेगा, मैं तो सो जाऊंगा आराम से. It is not going to work. There has to be hundreds and thousands of parents who also become responsible, to be responsible parents so that they can raise children with responsibility and able to bless. The whole thing is you should be able to bless. The fight between the Pandavas and Kauravas was the fight between those who collected lots of blessings and lots of curse. The Kauravas represent who collected lot of curse, including from their parents. Yeah, Gandhari would show attachment, but she never blessed that you be victorious. But many times she would curse him. And the Pandavas, they had collected so much of blessing, including their mother. So therefore, it was but guarantee that they would be victorious and they would continue a legacy of good parenthood. Therefore, Parikshit Maharaj, when he was cursed by Shringi, what did he do? He glorified. Naturally, he said, my grandparents, only because of their blessing I am a devotee. Otherwise, I don't have my qualification. Therefore, Bhagavatam explains, the parents can try fulfilling these aspects, the physical one, the intellectual one, the emotional one, the energy one, and the spiritual one. The five levels, the Annamaya Kosh, the Pranamaya Kosh, the Manomaya Kosh, the Vijnanmaya Kosh, and Anandmaya Kosh. Somehow or other, if we can balance these 5 koshas and help at least as long as they take. Nowadays they don't take more than when they are 10 years old. At least I see. Till they're 10-year-old, they are dressing as Krishna, they are dressing as Ram, they are doing Prahlad Maharaj. Then say, no more acting, I want to be Hiranyakashipu now. I want to go out. Said, all that drama is over now. Now we want to live a real life. So we can only give as much as they take. And once they stop taking, you can only pray to Krishna, my dear Lord, now you take care of my child. Because he wants to do something on his own. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki. Any questions or comments? Oh, it's like that. Can you please explain about Annamaya? I think it's already written before only. Annamaya, Pranamaya and Jnanamaya. This is a Upanishad verse and Prabhupada quotes about it. He says that every human existence has 5 shit. The physical one, the energy one, the emotional one, the intellectual one, and the bliss one. And the modern civilization only focuses, unfortunately, mostly on the physical one, not even the energy one. Maybe 20 years back, people would work on energy one also. Now the iPad has come, so they don't go out also. So when they don't go out, in the open field, so the energy level is not developed. So only when you develop physical one, and the wrong physical one, a physical one has to be based upon proper kind of food, so that it actually facilitate the next one, the pranamaya kosh. And the pranamaya kosh facilitates the manomaya kosh. Manomaya kosh is the kosh which is about relationship. We are emotionally stable and strong, when there is a strong, very good relationship. If you meet abused children, we used to go for food distribution program in an orphanage. In this kind of group, 300 children would stay, like bunk beds. And then many times they would be abused. So because they are emotionally not healthy, they become violent people. So if they are violent people, how can they have intellectual capacity to understand this is right and this is wrong? It is not possible only. And if they are intellectually disturbed, like just before after the morning Bhagavatam class, Anirudh Prabhu was speaking. He said it is so difficult to make local people devotees. He said we can only create Agyat Sukruti. No, it's like a wet grass. He gave the example of Prabhupada. And where does it come again? It all comes about, the koshas are not properly given. When the koshas are given properly, then there is a power to discriminate, power to love, power to take energy from the right source. And then also it gives a facility to love Krishna. Love Krishna, understand Krishna, interact with those who are connected to Krishna in a healthy way. So these 5 energies, this 5 shit, like there is one school in Pune. They actually train their children based upon this 5 concept. Otherwise, most of the school, they only focus on infrastructure, AC. If you see international school, what they talk about, AC bus. Classrooms are all AC. We only work on iPad. They never talk about, we help them develop good relationship. We make them stable people. We give them spiritual values. We give them intellectual values. I was asking children, do you ever ask this question when somebody is playing a video game? Do you ever ask, why should I play? No, we ask, how should I play? So there is a difference. I said, just when you ask the question, how should I play, then you are hooked. But if you can ask, why should I play, then most probably you will not play. Because you will realize it is so stupid, wasting so much of time. The mere fact that you are asking, how should I play, that means the power of discrimination is already gone. So that's the 5 koshas. When should we stop? What if the parents are very good in taking care of their kids and not respecting other devotees? That is not taking good care of kids, because the kids also learn to disrespect. No, society means, again, the society is made of not a nucleus family, my children and my family. My family means I am connected to other families also. Like an individual, a collective individuals becomes a family. A group of family makes parivar. A group of parivar makes kula. A group of kula makes grama. And group of grama makes pura. And group of puras makes rajya. And group of rajya makes rashtra. They are all interconnected. Nothing is isolated. So therefore, if you say, I teach my children how to, we take good care of children, but I teach, I teach disrespect to other people, then how can... This is another thing children like to play around. Subordinate have this habit. Therefore, we tell our parents in our school, do not speak ill about your teachers in front of your children. Because once you do that, It is not that you are gaining profit. Because what happens when there is no respect, there is no attention. Bhagavatam explains second canto. Respect gives rise to attention. Attention gives rise to retention. Retention gives rise to reproduction. Knowledge is very, very value specific. If there is no respect, you cannot assimilate knowledge. If the mother says, क्या teacher है तुम्हारा फालतू हो गया फिर फालतू है उसे क्या पढ़ना है अभी. So you start seeing like that only. So maths goes to bouncers. You don't learn. Why? Because there is no relationship, there is no respect. A very simple formula. Respect leads to attention. Attention leads to retention. Retention leads to reproduction. अगर वो नहीं है, therefore we see in the colleges all boys and girls are sitting on katta. Because they are eating and drinking with the teachers. So what can they learn? They can't learn anything. It's a very psychological problem, situation. Therefore, one has to. And then if the teachers talk about the parents in front of the student, in the beginning children enjoy, okay, I need to play around with both the parties. She doesn't realize actually I am losing. I am making my own loss. So therefore, at least in my time, whenever teachers would punish the students, we would never dare come and tell our parents. Why? Because they also will get punishment. So both parties, they are together. Now what the children do, they play them against each other. And they feel, Hare, it's my profit. It is not their profit. The children lose respect for the parents and the children lose respect for the teacher. And then that becomes very difficult. First is how to knowledge about to get Krishna conscious children. There is some of our devotees doing research on this, on Garbhadan Samskar. I met one very, very intelligent and very, a deep person who is involved in education since many years. In fact, she's about 65 years old. Last 40 years she's into education, traditional Indian education. And in her 40 years of research, she was explaining that she was quoting different scriptures, different experimentations. She said 90% of the sanskaras come during the time of conception. And the child is in the womb. He said those 12 months, she talks about 3 months before conception and 9 months after conception. He said 90% of your sanskaras come during those time. And rest 10% when they start growing. Therefore, if you study Prahlad Maharaj, study Abhimanyu, study Pandu, study Pandavas, study Dhritarashtra, once the sanskara very strongly, Duryodhana's problem was not Duryodhana's problem per se. It was Gandhari who invoked that kind of soul, unfortunately. And these mistakes, small mistakes should be rectified, should be forgiven. But some small mistakes at the wrong time have a lasting impression. When Gandhari's and Dhritarashtra's mother closed her eyes, it was a small mistake because she expected something else and somebody else came. And she was terrified to see Vyasdeva and she closed her eyes. And what was the result? The result was lifetime of suffering for Dhritarashtra. Gandhari, same thing. Envy towards Yudhishthira Maharaj and Kunti, that was a small mistake. She was not like that. It was a trying moment for her, but at the wrong time. And what was the result? The result was lifetime envy of Duryodhana. So repeatedly these stories have been told, and therefore some devotees are working. Recently one devotee gave a seminar in GBC, presentation about Garbhadan Samskar, and he is coming out with a book in English also. He's an Ayurvedic doctor plus a devotee. Plus he's an allopathic doctor also. He has done both. His family business is Ayurvedic doctor. And he studied medicine just to understand the modern perspective also. But he's practicing Ayurveda only. So they are working on doing this. My parents are not very favorable towards Krishna consciousness. How to still love them? And how do I approach them with respect? No philosophy with parents. Somebody else should speak philosophy to them. That is the first rule. When the very child who was an idiot and stupid starts speaking more than what the parents know, that's hurting their false ego. No, to tell them, you are fool and ignorant. You don't know anything about Krishna. I know everything about Krishna. I think that is not fair on our part also. That we continue to be nice to them, and somebody else, those who are of their age, those whom they kind of respect, if they tell the philosophy, even those parents become devotees. I was sharing that we have about 56 brahmacharis parents, who are initiated devotees. But when they in the beginning went and started speaking to their mothers about Krishna consciousness, he was to watch cricket, movies, everything. Now he's talking about becoming all God conscious. That itself is a big shock for them. It's another fad. Like one Prabhupada disciple said, he said, I would tell my son to, trim his hair. He would not. And suddenly one day he shaved. I said, what is this? Another kind of fashion. So she couldn't assimilate what he was doing. So when she cannot assimilate his hairstyle only, how can she assimilate what he is speaking? So first thing is, never speak philosophy to your parents. At least you don't speak. No, with your newfound, lifestyle, you can say, I like this. No, I'm doing like that. Create an inquisitiveness. Don't dump all the knowledge you learned for 1 year. Sometimes as parents we may compare our children with other kids in terms of education, manners, skills. Child is individual. What should we do in such situation? I was in one school in Indonesia. They have a textbook for every child, because they say every child is different. In Gurukul, therefore, there was no textbooks only. Why they had no textbook? Because textbook is very teacher-centric. It is not children-centric. The teacher forces all kind of children. Even somebody is very good at art, he has to be forced to learn mathematics and be as good as some other student also, and get a tag also. He is such a dull student. So he said, we don't have such concept. He said, we focus based upon their talents and skills, and then we bring out books, whatever books we have, and we train. So therefore they were saying, and that's a reality also, that every child, there are 84 lakh species of life. And of those, there are 400,000 species of human beings. And we want to create one kind of human being. Like this devotee, one who does Garbhadan Samskar, people come to him. They have this Garbhadan Samskar training program in their clinic. They ask the mother, what kind of child you want? Beautiful, intelligent and submissive. He says there is no such, this is not a production line. You are saying he said these are the manifestation of something else. Like people say, I want to be happy. Happiness is a reward. Happiness is not a right. Please try to understand it. Happiness is not our right. When we force happiness to come, then it becomes an artificial thing. Happiness is a reward given to us for being responsible in our life. Therefore he said beauty, character, intelligence and submissiveness. So the doctor said, Ayurveda says, it is not the cause, it is the effect of something else. He said, most people, they ask this question, and everybody invariably, he said, वाह, अगर ऐसा होता तो खुद में भगवान बन जाता था ना. भगवान भी नहीं बनाते ऐसा. बुद्धिमान, होशियार, सबमिसिव और गोरा गोरा छान छान. So therefore it is One should see what is the talent and facilitate. Can you read this?
What about children whose parents came into Krishna consciousness when their children are teenagers?
Oh, okay. Yeah, when the children, see, both there are different difficulties. Those who come to Krishna consciousness when their children are very small, they say, you didn't give me a choice to practice devotional service. You forced upon me. When they come when the teenagers say, hey, I am already doing something else. Why you are forcing me? So they have their own problems. So those who come to Krishna consciousness when their children are teen, give them logical, again don't, just like children are not supposed to preach the parents should not preach their teenage children. You are the one who did not give them Krishna consciousness up till now. And suddenly you say, now you become, give up this, give up that, and chant 16 rounds and follow the 4. What happened? कल तो आप लोग पार्टी लेके जा रहे थे अभी क्या हो गया? Why you are changing now? So it doesn't sink into their system. So teenage children best to be dropped at where people who are of their age, they speak logic to them, they speak reason to them. No, it's a rule. The golden rule is that parents should not preach to their grown-up teenage children. They can invite them. Why don't you meet this person? Find out somebody who is logical, reasonable, friendly, who understand their needs and concern. Let them preach and be a good example. Parents' blessings are important in advancing in every aspect of life, of course, not only in Krishna consciousness. But what do we do if they are against Krishna consciousness and do not support us? Rather, they want us to follow their rules and rules and philosophy. Please advise us what to do in this situation. They force us to follow what they are doing because we are forcing them what we are doing. So there is a war. कोई तो जीतना पड़ेगा ना. They become fearful. They are forcing me. So therefore, I should force upon them what I am doing. So if you give them the space, whatever they are doing, let them take to Krishna consciousness, just like you took Krishna consciousness according to your choice, according to your readiness, according to your understanding. And understanding cannot be superimposed. And then, at least on that level, a relationship should continue. If you start judging, unless you are a devotee, I cannot love you, that's very painful for them. Then what happens? They extend their anger towards Krishna also. Since Krishna came to my parents' life, Krishna is the one who is separating my parents from me. Or if the child becomes devotee and start kind of disrespecting, neglecting, the parents start feeling, अरे Krishna के कारण मेरा बच्चा मेरे को प्रेम करना कम कर दिया. And that will not be liked by Krishna. Krishna doesn't want anybody to feel that, I am responsible, people not loving. Lord is not envious. He says, have plenty of love for your parents also. Not a problem. But keep me in the center. No? So I think, this we should never allow our children or our parents to feel that because of Krishna, their love has minimized. So therefore, one has to give them blessings as long as they are dharmic, as long as they follow certain rules of life, which is good for their physical growth. And even if they don't follow, if they follow, you give them blessing. If they don't follow, feel sympathy for them. You can only have two things. Sympathize with them and feel grateful to Krishna. Don't curse them, please. No, if you curse, they will doubly curse you. That's all. Is it good to be simple or diplomatic? Most of the time, diplomatic people are successful. Both are tools. We may have a certain core nature. We may be simple, and some people may be very diplomatic. Naturally, diplomatic people are successful in material life, but sometime one should understand, even though one's core nature may be simple, one has to use diplomacy as a tool to function in this world. Otherwise, you can't function. Nowadays in Himalayas also you have to be diplomatic. Because there are many robbers to steal the sadhus also. They know, inke paas sabse zyada paisa hai. Like if you go to Chitrakoot and Vrindavan, some of the sadhus are bodyguard. One time one sadhu came to one program where there was some interfaith program. He has got 8 Swiss bodyguards. Can you imagine to afford 8 Swiss bodyguards? He had 8 Swiss bodyguards. So one has to be diplomatic also. So this is again balancing. Kids are like deities, but you have service to preaching also. So how do you balance? No, that is everybody's problem. How do you balance between my seva to the community of devotees and my service to my family members? There's a combination. Again, our culture talks about that you need society also to survive. Unless your surrounding society is good, your children will not survive. So therefore as a rule of life, there has to be service to the society also, for your own benefit also. Otherwise, when only focuses about their own society, I give this example. Like we call Singapore as a very, very sophisticated, very, very organized society. Only on the road, only on the offices. But socially, what's happening now? None of the kids want to join army. So there is a compulsory 2 years draft in the army for the kids. All the young boys of the age of 17, they are forced to join Singapore army. So then what happens when the boys go to army, their grades come down. Basically they are 2 years behind the girls. And once they go to army's life, Air Force life, Navy life is very tough life. No, there is less study and more hard work. So they lose the inclinations to study when they come back. First of all, they are 2 years behind the girls. The girls are already ahead, and the girls get more education, boys get less education, and because of that, girls don't want to marry less educated guys. So there is a very good, cars are running very nicely. If you drive wrongly, you get a ticket. But the girls don't get husbands. So broken society is there. Now when somebody focuses on one aspect only, that creates trouble. So therefore, a society's growth is very important for our family's growth also. And family's growth is very important for society's growth. It cannot be underestimated. Therefore in America, when young people were not joining, I heard somebody told in Iraq now, they are telling the local people, "Hare, take your gun and fight the terrorist on your own." Ordinary people who have not trained also. So you cannot have an artificial society. We need soldiers, we need teachers, we need farmers, as simple as that. Like I met one army officer. He said, those who say, I don't want to join army, he said they should go to Congo and see what happens. He said, because there is no police and army, everybody loots everybody else. There is no system only in that country. He said, then I realized, my God. He gave an example. He said one time in Chandigarh, all the school teachers went for a strike. And nobody was willing to do anything. So then they had to call the army. He said, they told the army people, now you become a teacher. You become an examiner. So they came, and this was North India, and all the guys were all masti-khor. They were doing all the nonsense. The teacher, the one who was acting as a teacher, the army guy said, please maintain silence. They said, "Arey, aap kya?" He said, "देखो गोली से उड़ा दूंगा, शांति रहे." He said, "हमको ऐसा order मिला हुआ है." He said, "हमारा रूल ऐसा ही चलता है." He said, "If you raise your head, आपके दिमाग पे हमें सिर पे गोली डाल देंगे." He said, "Next 3 hours," and he was part of that also. He said, "Nobody raised their heads." So he said, just see how discipline is required. So we need society also to be served. If you don't serve the society, only think about your family only, then what happens? You have an isolated family, hanging garden, anytime it will fall apart. We need a strong society base. So therefore, it's a part of life is that you serve your neighbors. As a mother, I always feel that I could have done things better for my daughter. Always, I don't feel 100% confident when I observe some mothers being wonderful. Does that mean that when she grows up, I will not have satisfaction that I have done my duty? Even if somebody does the duty, one can always feel I could have done much better. No, not to feel depressed, but to feel that I could have done more. That's how it's good for one to feel. And then if we have not done what we are supposed to do, then you tell those parents who are doing wrongly, I am a good example of not being not good mother. Don't make my mistake. That way you can rectify. I can tell I was not a good son. No, I didn't treat my parents very well when I joined the temple. In those times we didn't have anybody to train us. No, slowly, of course, when slowly the training came, we were harsh to our parents. And when you want to beg forgiveness, one of them is not there. So what we do? We at least tell, like doing this seminar, to absolve our mistakes. It's easier at least to rectify our mistake by telling others, don't do. I remember one devotee told, I'm an example for a devotees how a devotee should not behave. He said, I tell people, he was saying, he said, wow, very honest. He was able to say that honestly, that मैं एक ऐसा उदाहरण हूँ जिसको आप पालन नहीं करना चाहिए. That doesn't mean that we should have more such example, he was saying. To say that. So therefore, if we feel that dissatisfaction that I could not do something, you tell those parents to avoid certain mistakes what he had done. If one of the partners is following Krishna consciousness fully, but the other one is not following, then how it can impact the child's mind? So therefore, again, there are many permutation and combination. Nobody in this world has a perfect permutation and combination. That means this is not a material world only. If you have everything perfect, then we are not in the material world. ऐसा किसी का भी नहीं है. So therefore, at least a basic common platform wherein both mother and father agree upon a basic human values in this condition when the father is not practicing or mother is not practicing, father is practicing or mother is practicing. So then there is a basic discipline. And I don't think any person will say, don't teach them any scriptures, don't teach them any spiritual values. I don't think anybody says, very less, unless he's Prahlada's father. Mostly the way we do it, that is what is irritating to other party. It is not what we do. I remember one lady, she started coming to Pune temple. She started coming with her friend. Her school friend was a devotee. So she would bring her from 8th standard. But naturally when an 8th standard girl goes to Hare Krishna temple, who will not be scared? The boys' parents are scared, अरे टकला बन जाएगा, ब्रह्मचारी साधु बन जाएगा. That's what. So they felt, अरे हमारी बेटी सन्यासी बन जाएगी. So naturally they stopped her from going to the temple. He said, don't associate with that girl. But some other, the poison had gone deep inside, both the sister. But some other they developed very good idea. They never irritated their parents. She would chant their rounds on their bed. Finish their rounds. And they got married according to what their parents wanted. And then she told her husband, my grandmother has told me to chant Hare Krishna. Then okay, grandmother se itna prem hai, kar le tu. She started doing like that. And once in a while she said, why don't we go to this temple? And the husband only told me this story. Now he's also initiated devotee. He became... So she did everything what she was doing, but the approach was different. If she had told, मैं तो हरे कृष्ण मूवमेंट की हूँ और तू तो मेरा पति फॉरेनर है तेरा संबंध, मेरा पति भगवान ही है. मैं बोले अरे तो शादी क्यों किया मेरे से? What is this nonsense you are talking? You are not important in my life. That's all right philosophically, but practically, So he said, Prabhuji, ऐसे मेरे wife ने मुझे trick कर दिया. Now both are in Bahrain. They are preaching very nicely, and their sister also. She is working as a architecture for Mayapur project. No. Many times another family is there. They stay very close to the temple, and they are from background they are Jains. So both became devotees, both husband and wife. And then the parents of the husband are both staunch Vipassana preachers. They travel around the world preaching Vipassana. And what is Buddhistic meditation? Don't have any gratitude to anybody, because you don't have a relationship with anybody in this world. All relationships are Maya. It's mithya. So they are very clear. Means we are talking about gratitude and obligation to Krishna, eternal service. They say, किसके साथ संबंध मत रखो. संबंध यानी कि बंधन. बंधन यानी कि फिर से जन्म. Another body. Therefore, do all your desires zero. So when you have such family, and they are all staying together, they are in preacher, and these are all this family. They take Bhagavad Gita course. The young couple, and their parents take Vipassana meditation. Can you imagine there could be a big war in the family? But they have a deities in their home. The deities are like unheard for somebody who is doing Vipassana. And the daughter-in-law took permission from her mother-in-law. Can I bring deities in my house? And the mother-in-law gave the space. That's your thing, you can do. But she could have said, "Arey, usko puchega to permission dega hi nahi." That's a belief system, and she would not give only. So she asked. So she is able to manage. Why? Because the approach was very strategic. If she had now, the mother-in-law has made a very beautiful painting for the deities. And when she came back from her preaching tour, Vipassana, बोली कितना अच्छा लग रहा है deity. Then she brought Aarti paraphernalia. Now she is not realizing that she is rendering devotional service. I said, don't tell her. Let them continue to render devotional service. My child uses left hand for all work, struggling to change into right hand. May I allow her to do in left hand or change her to right hand? There is not a problem at all. Let she be what she is. Because again, to make them feel that you are separate. She is different. That's all. And that's okay. Krishna says there are no hard and fast rules in chanting Hare Krishna mantra. However makes her, at least she is chanting with left hand. People don't want to chant both the hands. Last question. Time up?
No, 6 minutes.
Okay. How can we train girls to be confident and retain their values simultaneously? Teach them Jhansi Rani story. No, actually it's true. I am not joking. If you study, we have not studied in our textbooks. She spent about 5 years on reading scripture. She chanted the holy names of, not Hare Krishna, Ram Nam. While dying, she chanted the names of God. So she was extremely enterprising, at the same time full of values. Study the character of Sita. Sita was submissive, at the same time she had her own mind also. Draupadi dealt with 5 husbands, and she could take anybody. Bhima ho, Yudhishthir ho, Arjuna ho, she could take anybody, but again maintain her culture. So what we study in our Vedic culture, what unfortunately the modern education has taught us is that submissive means stupidity. If you are submissive, that means you are stupid. No, Draupadi, Sita, Kunti, Gandhari were submissive culturally, but intellectually they had their own intelligence. They could debate. They would not. One is argue. When we argue emotionally, nobody wins. Because emotions are not supposed to be reasonable. Emotions are meant to be experiencing, feeling. But when they are seen through the faculty of the intelligence, then there is a facility to discuss and debate. You take any character. One devotee girl is planning to do PhD in about traditionally modern Indian women from the scriptures. And there are so many such stories of very dynamic women. At the same time, they are able to maintain values. What the modern world says, that if you want to be progressive, you have to have the girl's cigarette in your hand, walk like a man, be shameless like a man. That is progressive. That is not progressive. That only allows people to abuse them more and more with their consent. So this is what the unscrupulous society does. Allow women to be loose so that they can abuse them and take it as it's my choice. But the Vedic society says no, we can face the world. Therefore, Chanakya Pandit, if you study, I ask this question to our school children again. Who is more adventurous? The boy said, come on, what are you asking? It's not a question. He said, of course we are adventurous. We can climb the mountain, we can do this, we can do that. I said, okay, that is what you say. You know what the Shastra say? I said, what? Girls are more adventurous. Hey, come on, how can you say like that? Even the men may say, when I read first time, I felt, this is too much. How can Chanakya? I think he lost his brain. Huh? But then what adventure is talking about? The adventure of handling a trying situation. And then I can share, in our ashram, we have many brahmacharis parents who are the sons of, they are mothers of only son or father of only son. And we would discuss, if somebody has to go as they grow old, who should go first? And I can tell you many brahmacharis, in fact all those who are the only sons of their parents, they would say, if anybody has to go, better our father should go first. Because eventually somebody has to go, and that was a tension for, if only son, they have to handle. Let the fathers go first. And why? Because everybody would say that women are flexible and they can handle. Men cannot handle it. And I have seen it. Those brahmacharis, those who lost their mothers first, they became very helpless. And those brahmacharis lost their fathers first, they are adjusting. So Chanakya talks about it, and actually it's proven that the trying situation, if they are trained nicely, women can handle. Gandhari, Kunti, Draupadi. What kind of... Draupadi did not need to hear Bhagavad Gita from Krishna. Arjuna had to hear. And then what? She lost all her sons. And lost her father, lost her brothers. In last 3 days, basically Draupadi lost all relationship what she had. And then still, she is sitting on the throne, taking that Abhishek, becoming the queen of Hastinapur. There was no fun in there. It was not mean or perverted. मर जाएंगे मेरे बच्चे चलेगा, लेकिन मुझे रानी बनना है. रानी बनना वो केवल एक उत्तरदायित्व रह गया है. So therefore, there are certain strength in women and certain weaknesses. And there are certain strength in men and certain weaknesses. Usually what happens, we talk about the strength of one party and weakness of the other party. And that's what creates a competitive life. Or, we want to be a modern women. There is no such thing as modern women. You can say animalistic women. You can say animalistic men. The law of nature never changes. It always stays as it is. Sun still rises from eastern direction only. Water will quench our thirst only. Similarly, certain values, whether it is Kali, Treta, Dwapar, if it is not practiced, modernity only creates limitless sinful activity. And not only limitless sinful activity, it creates limitless sensitivity, which leads to limitless depression. But if you see the toughness, that's what this lady wants to do about write a book. From a Vedic perspective, that which women were more dynamic, the Vedic women or the modern women. And I can tell you, if you study the scripture, that Draupadi, Kunti, they all knew how to ride on the horse to fight, but the need did not arise. If you study, Kunti is speaking to Krishna to speak to Yudhishthira Maharaj. And what politics she speaks, what she diplomacy speaks, she gives such a confidence to Yudhishthira Maharaj, quoting so many stories from here, there, everywhere. That means what? She must have studied the scripture. She must have studied everything. Sita, if you study again in the Ramayana, very amazing what she speaks to Ram when Ram was not willing to take her to the forest. Very interesting conversation. And Draupadi, when Jayadratha came to kidnap her, she talks about etiquette, human etiquettes. She talks about what would happen if he does something wrong, all the consequences. So from the knowledge point of view, both were given. Execution and application point of view, different people had different role to perform. So that is unfortunate that, in India, like now the case of rape incidents, they take place. But again, if you study, some other, unfortunately, that's happening. It's bad. They should be given a death penalty. That's what our scriptures talk about. Even if they repent, they should be given death penalty. But the point is, what do they do with these cases? Unfortunately, they connect it to the scripture. That is a big problem. And that's how they want to highlight in the media. Because Indian scriptures are like that. Indian women are like that. And why Indian women are like that? Because their books are like that. It's all about submissiveness. Dekho, Sita ko bhi jalaya gaya. She was tried to be burnt. And they burnt all the women in the name of Sati. So therefore, this Hindu scripture, their books are the problem. If you do away with the books, then the Indian women will become very dynamic. It's a very dangerous conspiracy in one sense, to prove that how our scriptures are wrong. But if you take the same scripture and prove them, no, it is not like that. Our scriptures are very dynamic and they give position to every person. A sage in the Mahabharata, when he came, I'll conclude with this story, when he came to that lady's house, when she got delayed in giving charity, he stared at her because he had burnt a bird. In the Mahabharata, that story is there. Some bird passed on his head and he became angry and he looked at the bird and bird was burnt. He said, wow, it's my power so much. By my tapasya I can burn the bird. When he came to beg charity, Bhukshamdi, and the lady was taking care of her husband. And she got delayed. When she came out, he stared at her. Hey, come on, I'm waiting so long. She said, I'm not the bird, okay? To burn me to death. He was shocked. He said, how do you know? He said, if you have some power, I also have some power. If you want to know more about life, go to some butcher in Janakpur. He will tell you everything what life is. He was shocked. He said, he was a Brahmana. And she told him, you go to Janakpur. And he went to Janakpur. And his hunter saw him from a distance. And then a butcher saw him from the distance. He said, oh, that lady sent you? She didn't send an email, apps. He was shocked. He said, how is that? Now this story is there, and this hunter's name is quoted by Lord Krishna in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam in regards to speaking to Uddhav about Krishna's devotional service. So there is a knowledge wherever it comes. And again in the Mahabharata there is a discussion in Janaka's kingdom. One lady saint comes. And there is an argument between Janak and her. And Janak is like quoted by Krishna in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So she speaks about certain values of human life. So Vedas talk about wherever the knowledge comes. In the Upanishad there is a story of Apala, who was a great lady who performed yajna. when she was falling in the well, somebody threw her, but in that also she was able to perform yajna by a certain principle. So the Bhagavatam and our holy scriptures, they're very dynamic. Wherever that substance is there, wherever it comes, you bow down and accept. That is how it talks about. We'll stop here. Thank you very much. If I have made any mistake in talking about parenting, I have no experience, but I deal with children, so therefore I shared something. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.